Hello, yes, my name's Neil Spence. Worked for Islington Council for 24 years since 1997. I'm a supervisor just recently. I've been driving and doing various jobs for Islington Council throughout my employment with them. So, regards to driving these electric vehicles, fantastic. With diesel vehicles, you get a lot of rumbling noise under the seat, which you don't get with electric vehicles. They're quite smelly. It comes with the diesel fumes because the exhaust pipe runs up the side of the vehicle where the engine is just under the seats. Driving these electric vehicles are quieter, not just for us to drive, also for the residents when we're working early hours in the morning from 5 o'clock in the morning right up till midnight. It's a 24-hour service anyway, 7 days a week. We probably get about 15 kilometres, which is about 9.5 miles of work out of it. On an average day that we work here, we average about 300 bins per shift. It will last the full shift, so about 7 hours of work before we come back to charge it. We'll probably go down to about 50%. These vehicles to be charged, we have a supercharger, which I think is a 90-volt kilowatt charge point. Can charge this vehicle on a supercharger within about an hour and a half, up to about 80%, maybe a couple of hours to 100%. We also have longer charges that if the vehicle's not being used throughout the night, we can leave it overnight, 8-hour charge, and it's fully charged anyway on a low charge. But to get the vehicle, if we needed it, where one of our vehicles may have broken down and we need to get a fleet back onto the road, one of the fleet members back onto the road, we have these 90 kilowatt superchargers here. The charging points with this vehicle comes with its own charging cables as well, so we can take them around with us. So if we have any issues, we can also get the charging carriers where if the vehicle breaks down out on the side road, we can also give it a boost charge, which allows it to get to its destination up to about 30 miles, I think. Borough's only a 6-mile radius. This vehicle will not go out of the borough unless it's going for a service, which very rarely happens based on the servicing that we have to do with electric vehicles. There's no oil, there's no filters to be involved in anymore. So having these vehicles serviced has dropped by a quarter, or a third, sorry, down to a quarter, where before we'd have them off the road for oil changes, filter changes, emissions and stuff like that, and we have the vehicles going in they have regenerated because the vehicles have to go through emissions. This hasn't got anything because it's zero emissions. We're using an older vehicle, which is a good few years old. I think this is about 5 years old. It's probably gone through 3 shifts per day, which is an averaging out between 21 shifts a week. For 4 years, you think that if it's a 4 or 5 year old vehicle, you're talking 15 years of work if he's doing an average day's work, tripling it per day, compared to what we're using for our electric vehicles. To get a conversion, I think they're just as good to drive, probably better. By getting an old vehicle which we could have put as scrap, which is not so good for the environment, and now transferring it into giving it a new lease of life from a diesel into an electric vehicle, and to see the condition of this vehicle and how it drives and how it works. Obviously the company that are supplying the conversion are fantastic, and they do an absolutely fantastic job.